Welcome to The Explainer. We're about to dive into some stories where the line between trust and, well, terror just completely vanishes. So, what happens when the people you're supposed to trust turn out to be your biggest threat? We're going to look at 3 incredible true stories from Reddit today. They all start in the most normal places you can imagine: a hair salon, a friend's house, a marriage. But they spiral into total nightmares. All right, let's kick things off. Our first story is called The Stylist's Twisted Souvenir. It starts with something super mundane, a trip to the hair salon, but it ends with a truly terrifying discovery in a back room. Okay, so picture this. You've just had your hair cut, and you stumble upon this plastic tote with your name on it, and inside, bags of your own hair collected from all your past appointments, mixed with potpourri and even dated photos. It's just bizarre. This is exactly what happened to one woman, and she quickly realized her trusted stylist was hiding a seriously disturbing secret. So, she does the logical thing, right? She calmly texts the stylist, trying to cut ties. And that's when things just explode. Look at this timeline. Day 1 is the creepy discovery. By day 2, she's getting unhinged texts at 3 a.m. Then it's threatening calls, and get this, a fake $375 invoice for breach of contract. It just went from 0 to 100 real fast. And then the harassment took a really dark turn. The stylist left this absolutely chilling voicemail. The quote says it all: "I found out I like watching your hair burn more than I liked keeping it." Whoa. Suddenly, this wasn't just weird and obsessive anymore, it felt genuinely violent. This was the moment it became a real, legitimate threat, and she had no choice but to involve the police. And this wasn't just some brief, weird thing that blew over. Nope, it turned into a year-long nightmare of legal battles and constant stalking. Even a restraining order didn't stop the harassment. In the end, she and her husband had to sell their house and move to a whole new town just to get away and feel safe again. Unbelievable. So that first story was about trust being broken by someone you hire, a professional. Our next one, though, this one hits closer to home. It's called Trapped with Psychopaths, and it's all about what happens when a friend breaks that trust, turning the promise of a new life into a seriously dangerous trap. So here's the setup. A young woman gets this amazing offer from a friend to move to California. You know the dream: a full-time job paying $15 an hour, her own room, working on a legal cannabis farm. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, the reality was a total nightmare. The job vanished, her room was a mattress on the kitchen floor, and she was stuck in the middle of an illegal mushroom and cannabis operation surrounded by constant paranoia. I mean, the red flags were just everywhere. The roommates were this super volatile, conspiracy-obsessed couple. Her friend was on parole, the house had just been raided, and to make it worse, there was no cell service, so she was completely isolated. Then there's violence, stolen property. At one point, they even threatened to banish her to an unlivable teepee in the woods. She was totally trapped, miles from anywhere, and genuinely fearing for her life. So, with basically no money and no way to get out, she does the only thing she can think of. She finds a weak Wi-Fi signal and posts her entire story to Reddit. It was a total long shot, a real plea for help. She had no idea if anyone would even see it, much less be able to do anything about it. But they did. 2 Redditors saw her post, and what happened next is just incredible. They weren't even from the area, but they organized a full-on rescue mission. They drove for hours, in the middle of the night, to get her out of there. They bought her a plane ticket home. As she put it, what were the odds? It's just an amazing example of strangers coming together to help someone in serious trouble. Okay, so we just saw the incredible kindness of strangers. Now we're going to flip the script completely and look at the cruelty from the one person who should be the most trustworthy of all. Our last story is called A Husband's Cruel Deception, and it's a masterclass in gaslighting and the ultimate betrayal. So, try to imagine this. You're grieving. It's been 6 months since your husband's sister died in a tragic accident. You're at a family dinner, and your husband, he suddenly stands up and accuses you of murdering her in front of the entire family. Can you even imagine? That's how the story kicks off. And his story wasn't vague either. He had a whole narrative worked out. The supposed motive? He claimed his wife found secret messages between him and his late sister, flew into a jealous rage, and pushed her down the stairs. The thing is, the wife, listening to all of this, she knew it was a complete and utter lie. None of it ever happened. So she needed to prove it. She managed to get into his iCloud backup, which, yeah, legally a gray area, but desperate times, and she searched for these supposed messages. And guess what she found? Absolutely nothing. They didn't exist. His entire story, the whole accusation, it was a fabrication from start to finish. Okay, so if the whole thing was a lie, what was really going on here? At first, you might think maybe he's having some kind of psychotic break from the grief, right? But no, this was way more calculated. So the real question becomes, what was he actually trying to hide? And the truth is just, wow, he wasn't having a breakdown. He was covering his own butt. He'd been secretly taking out loans and credit cards in his dead sister's name. When a credit card company started investigating him for fraud, he panicked. He invented this entire murder story to frame his wife, hoping it would create enough doubt and confusion to get him off the hook. It was all a cold, calculated plan to save himself by destroying her. So there you have it. 3 completely different nightmares, 3 different kinds of betrayal. After walking through these absolute messes, what can we possibly take away from them? What are the lessons here about surviving something so unthinkable? Well, if you look closely, a kind of survivor's playbook starts to emerge. In every case, the person at the center of the storm did a few key things. First, they trusted their gut, that little voice that said something is very, very wrong here. They documented everything, screenshots, recordings, notes. Then they cut off contact to stop the cycle. And most importantly, they reached out for help, whether it was the police, lawyers, or even, as we saw, an online community. That was the key. You know, these stories are just a chilling reminder that sometimes the biggest dangers don't come from strangers in the dark. They come from the people we know, the people we let into our lives. A stylist, a friend, a husband. And it leaves you with a really unsettling question, doesn't it? In a world where everyone has a carefully crafted public image, how can we ever really truly know who to trust?